If you've been feeling overwhelmed, emotional, exhausted, or just not like yourself lately, this might help you understand why. Because a lot of what you're feeling isn't random, and it's not because something is wrong with you. It may be your nervous system. In this video, I'm going to walk you through how your nervous system works, how it shapes your emotional experience, and why what you've actually been feeling makes sense. Your nervous system is the part of your body that is constantly working in the background to keep you safe. It's not something that you consciously control. It's running continuously, moment to moment, gathering information from your environment, from your internal sensations, from your emotional state, and from past experiences. And even sort of subtle cues that most people are not fully aware of. Based on what it detects, your nervous system then shifts your internal state, and this directly influences how you feel emotionally. When your body senses safety, you may feel calm, connected, and just at ease. When it senses threat or overwhelm, you may feel anxious or unsettled or just shut down. In this way, your emotional state isn't random. It's deeply connected to the state of your nervous system. Its job is not to make you feel good. Its job is to keep you alive and functioning. So it is always making predictions about what kind of state you need to be in order to handle what's happening around you. So when your system feels safe, you tend to feel just more settled. You feel more present in your body, and there's more access to thinking clearly, more ability to reflect rather than react to things, and a general sense that life feels manageable even when it's still full. You can rest more easily. You can connect with other people without feeling overstimulated or withdrawn. There's a sense of internal space where different experiences can exist without everything feeling urgent. But when your system starts to feel overwhelmed or under pressure, like there's too much happening, or for too long without enough time to recover, it begins to shift into a different protective state. And these shifts are not always dramatic or obvious in the beginning. In fact, they're often quite gradual, and they build over time, which is part of why they can feel confusing when you're in them. You might notice at first you're thinking. Your mind can start to feel more active than usual, like there's no natural pause between your thoughts. You might find yourself mentally rehearsing conversations, worrying about different outcomes, or jumping quickly from one concern to another without feeling grounded in any of them. Even when nothing urgent is happening in the moment, your system can feel like it's staying on in the background, as if it's preparing for something. Over time, that constant mental activation or on can start to feel exhausting in itself. Or you might notice it more emotionally. Things that would normally feel manageable can start to just feel amplified. Small interactions can feel like they carry more weight than they used to. You might find yourself feeling more exposed emotionally, where sadness and frustration or sensitivity arise more quickly and feel harder to settle once they're there. It can feel like your emotional system has less buffering or less space between what's stimulating you and how you respond. At other times, the system responds in a different direction, which is often experienced as irritability or reactivity. You might notice a lower threshold or frustration. Things that wouldn't normally bother you suddenly feel disproportionately irritating or overwhelming. And it's not necessarily about that actual thing itself. In fact, quite commonly it's not. It's how much capacity your system has available at that moment. When capacity is lower, even small demands can feel like too much. And once that state is activated, it can feel like it takes time to come back down again. And then there's another very important protective response that often gets misunderstood, which is shutdown. Shutdown can feel like emotional numbness, physical heaviness, and mental fog, or a sense of just disconnection from yourself or your surroundings. It's not laziness, and it's not lack of care. It's often a state where the system reduces output because it's no longer able to sustain the level of demand that you've been under. In shutdown, even simple things can just feel incredibly difficult. Decision making can feel harder, motivation can feel absent. You might feel like you're moving through your day with less internal energy or less sense of engagement. It can feel like you're there but not fully online the way you would normally be. What makes all this feel more confusing is that these states can shift quite quickly and they don't always follow a clear external reason. You might wake up feeling okay and find yourself overwhelmed later in the day, or you might feel fine in one environment and then suddenly completely different in another. And because there's no obvious explanation, it's very easy to start interpreting it as something is wrong with me. You might start thinking you're becoming more anxious than before, or more sensitive, or less resilient. You might start questioning your stability, your capability, or even your sense of identity in relation to how you're feeling. But what's actually happening underneath all of this is not a change in who you actually are. It's a change in how your nervous system is responding to the load that is being put on it. Your nervous system is continually adjusting to your internal state based on what it perceives in terms of safety, demand, and capacity. It's constantly trying to organize your energy in a way that allows you to just keep functioning. So these shifts are not random. They're not personality traits, and they are not signs that you are failing or becoming less able. They are adaptive responses. They are your system trying to manage what it is carrying in the only way it knows how. And when you begin to understand it from that perspective, something important starts to change. You begin to see that there are patterns in your experience, patterns in when you become overwhelmed, when you get shut down, or when you become reactive, and when you feel emotionally flooded. Those patterns start to make your experience feel less chaotic and less personal, because they're not random expressions of who you are. They're consistent responses from a nervous system that is trying to protect you under different conditions. And that means your experience of yourself is not fixed. You're not simply an anxious person or an overwhelmed person, or, like I always thought, someone who cannot cope. You are a person whose nervous system is responding to conditions, to load and perceived safety in real time. And that matters because anything that responds can begin to change. Not through force, not through pushing, not through trying to override what you feel, but through beginning to understand what your system is actually doing and working with it rather than against it. Because when you stop treating these responses as problems to eliminate and start treating them as signs that carry information, your relationship with yourself begins to shift. There's more understanding, there's more space and less internal conflict. And from there, it becomes possible to start exploring what actually helps your nervous system feel safe again. And in small, manageable ways, you can do that. And that's where we go next in the following videos. Be kind to yourself.